ceiling. And for us, a cold, successful outreach system really requires three golden pillars, and these three pillars are immutable. They must work simultaneously together for the system to work. Not even if one is missing, it will not actually, it won't be effective. So I'm going to go through the three pillars with you with what that concept is.
Is your cold outreach falling flat or not generating the leads you need? In this episode of the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast, Eunice sat down with Gia, CEO of Elite Digital Campaigns, to talk all about the secrets of high converting outbound systems and crafting compelling offers. This is a good one, so lean in and grab those notebooks because today we are going to learn how to scale your sales with precision.
First of all, Gia, thank you again so much for being back with us. We really enjoy having you on the previous mastermind session, and we definitely want to keep learning more from you. And Gia, it's the founder and CEO of Elite Digital Campaigns. She's based in Berlin, but she's serving clients worldwide. From growing up and building a successful corporate career in Australia to running her global agency from Berlin, Gia is an international is as international as her track record, with over 2 billion worth of goods and services marketed. This is impressive. And millions in sales generated across the property and finance sectors. She leads a team of 12 serving clients across Australia, Asia, the US, and Europe. Her specialty is turning cold outreach into a consistent, scalable sales machine that books warm appointments with the right people with absolute precision. She believes that anybody can do it too if they learn how to build a compelling offer, hit the right audience, and communicate with clarity. And this is part of the topics that we will be exploring today. So finally, people don't remember ads, they remember stories. And yes, a story is proof that with the right mindset, resources, and deep understanding of people, you can build something extraordinary even without traditional paths. So, yeah, welcome again. And let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to start Elite Digital Campaigns, and was there a specific gap in the market that you were determined to fill?
Sure. Well, thank you first and foremost for having me back. It's an absolute pleasure. So I guess we'll take my history back really briefly. 15 years ago, for 15 years, initially after university, I actually spent my early career in Australia. I worked in the automotive industry, specializing in finance and insurance. It was quite a corporate environment where you generate your own opportunities, or essentially you could staff. It was a really fun and fast-paced environment. And because of this, do or die attitude, I developed a system where 60% of my business long term actually came from repeat clients and referrals. And because of that, I was able to become one of Australia's top performers in the automotive and finance insurance sector. And then obviously I decided I wanted to move into real estate. It was a natural progression for myself. And at that point, I noticed that digital marketing was starting to emerge. This was around 2015. So, it was, and that I could start to see it creating powerful opportunities that actually didn't exist before in commerce. So I really explored and I dove headfirst into it. And just for those who aren't aware, I also did a Bachelor of Marketing in the Media back in university. So it wasn't completely unknown to me, but it was the first time I was truly practicing it after studying it. And then I really explored social media, cold outreach, and using different digital strategies. And because of that, in my first year alone in real estate, I was able to sell 20 properties. And because of that, that's when my colleagues around me started to approach me and ask if I could also help them with their digital strategy and their execution. And at that point, I realized that maybe this is something I could actually monetize. And that afternoon, I actually already came up with my business model and the first offer and service that I could go to the market with. And I told my colleague who was sitting beside me in that office about my idea. And through her help, within 2 hours, she actually told me there was a client that wanted to use my services. So it was literally within the space of that afternoon and 2 hours of germination, I had my first client. And as they say, it's an idea, but it's not a business until someone pays you to solve a pain. And right then, I was so blessed that I had somebody willing to actually engage my services. And then actually within 3 months, I hired my first full-time employee. And then from there, it really exploded. And that was about 8 years ago. And, the landscape's completely transformed since then. But that moment really taught me something crucial about timing and recognizing when your skills align with market demand. And you've really got to truly capitalize on it, just as the way that we're now experiencing the AI growth and the AI revolution, which I believe is really going to transform humanity.
Yes, totally. It's impressive what we are seeing, and especially how fast it's growing. Like honestly, before, and you probably agreed with me on this, when something was launched, such as like, I don't know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it took years for
Mm,
people to embrace and to make part of their lives like all these platforms. And not with AI, it was a matter of months when everybody was already using it. And yeah, I think it's going to revolutionize definitely all industries, not only marketing and digital marketing, especially.
agreed. Thank you.
Yeah. So, for all those listeners who are new to this concept, how would you define a cold outbound system, and what is the simplest way to explain what you do?
Sure. So I want to come back to this is that a lot of business owners, when they first start their business, usually they will experience really rapid growth in the first 3 to 6 months or even up to a year, because they usually rely on their network, right? They've got referrals, they've got this word of mouth, they can leverage all of those prior relationships. And then at some point, you really do hit a plateau because all of those networks and opportunities are exhausted. And then what we're finding is that to actually go beyond that ceiling, that's when you have to start engaging in cold outreach to pierce through that ceiling. And for us, a cold, successful outreach system really requires three golden pillars, and these three pillars are immutable. They must work simultaneously together for the system to work. Not even if one is missing, it will not actually, it won't be effective. So I'm going to go through the three pillars with you with what that concept is. Um,
Sure.
the first one is really truly actually understanding your avatar or your ICP or your ideal customer, right? I think, in marketing and sales, we get told this a lot, right? But what happens is that we have to be even more extremely segmented, with who you actually want to target. And what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be just, I get it, when you start your business, you want to be able to serve the largest possible population, um, and cast the widest possible net, right? But within that, you can actually segment different target groups, right? And the main thing here is that your clients need to believe you are the specialist in that specific segment, in that specific sector. Um, and you see, a weak avatar, let's say, is similar to something like, let's say, a first generation immigrants. You see, what happens is that that's fairly generalized. And what we're really trying to get our prospects, our clients to do is go deep. And a real good avatar is basically, let's say, um, a Filipino Americans who have immigrated in the last 7 years. The more segmented, the more specific you are, the more powerful the message is going to resonate with your market, right? Because then generally their pains and their aspirations are so much more defined and refined. As I said, you can have 3, 4, 5 different segments you're targeting, but each message has to be specific to that avatar. Now, the second pillar, and actually is in fact the most important pillar, it actually does 90% of our heavy lifting. And the moment I understood this pillar, my business transformed. And I actually see this with all of our other clients. And this pillar is actually your offer. Your
Mhm.
offer is absolutely everything. What happens is that if you go to the market and your audience doesn't know who you are. There's no relationship, there is no track record, there's no word of mouth. So the only way through cold outreach they're going to actually respond, book an appointment with you, or respond to your email is because your offer is so enticing, so enigmatic that they believe it's worth giving their time to speak with you, right? And you know, the power of an offer needs to be time sensitive, it needs to be risk-free, and it needs to be extreme. It needs to be numerical, that they can actually visualize. So that's the most important element of that offer. And in fact, 90% of the time that we work with our clients is actually refining that offer. So that's the second pillar. And the third pillar is now your sales process. You know, what happens is that a lot of clients, when they start doing cold outreach, and we really hope this happens for everyone, is what if you suddenly got 100 inquiries in the next 2 weeks and you actually don't have a sales process, you don't have a journey, you actually don't understand how you're going to move your cold outreach to warm, to booking an appointment, to taking them into a proposal, through to closing. And if there isn't a journey, 100 highly qualified opportunities will actually fall on deaf ears. So that's why those three pillars have to work simultaneously with each other for it to actually to be successful.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I think that the way that you explain it, it makes totally sense, and it gives us a really good understanding of the journey that a client goes through normally. But I think that there is also this part that you didn't mention yet, but I know it's part of this process, that it's about the high quality leads. Because
Correct.
yeah, of course, you can attract like a bunch of people, but are they actually qualified that like they're going to buy your product or service? Um,
Hmm.
can you break a little bit down like what makes a good like high quality lead in your view, and how we can convert this person into a paying client?
Certainly. Well, look, number one, let's really define what a high quality lead is, right? For us, a high quality lead isn't just somebody that wants to do business with you immediately, which is obviously what we all want, right? But that really only happens about 2 to 5% of the time. People who are in the most severe pain that is looking for a solution, and if you're the first person they've come across and you can solve it, then they're prepared to transact with you. But another definition of a high quality lead for us is somebody who is actually happy and curious to give you their time to have a meaningful discussion with you about your offer, right? That's the key, because you've created curiosity, you've created an enigma, and it means that the pain is great enough and the solution you are presenting sounds in alignment, they actually want to book an appointment with you to have a discussion. And I think what happens with the cold outreach we specialize in is that we're not just trying to chase phone numbers, names, and emails. We're actually trying to take the prospect and get them to book an appointment with you. Now, that really changes the dynamic, right? It's not about you chasing these leads, right? It's about this prospect being so engaged that they have actually gone onto your Calendly and they've bothered to align their calendar to book an appointment with you and to show up. That's what a high quality lead is. And on a technical level as well, like I said to you, a high quality lead is you need someone to also not only have booked the appointment, there's an art and a craft to making sure that they actually show up to the appointment, you know. And there's two sides to this coin. There's the technical element, you know, there's a lot of strategies around how we can do all of the automated prompts and reminders, and even best practices such as sending video recordings to them, engaging them, educating them before they show up, to the other component, which is making sure you have the other two pillars correct, making sure that your avatar is defined, your problem that you're solving is defined, and most importantly, your offer is absolutely dialed in, that creates so much excitement that they want to meet you. That is what I define as a high quality lead, not just names, mobiles, and emails. That's just data. A high quality lead is somebody who books an appointment and shows up.
Totally, 100%. Yes, and it's really important to have like this distinction when we are running our campaigns, because sometimes I've seen this with many clients that, I don't know, we put out there a lead magnet or unpaid campaign, an ad, and they start getting like these leads, but it's just that it's data. It's not a high qualified lead, and that takes time, and you have to build the path for them and all these things that you were mentioning. And I think that something that you just said, actually it's really important, because I think it's the base to develop and to actually get to these high qualified leads, that it's identifying your ideal client avatar. How do you help businesses or your clients to really develop this persona that it's going to be basically like the start of everything?
Well, let me give you an example, a story of our recent client, right? So they sell $1 million investments, property investments, okay? And they specialize in selling homes. We call it it's the National Disability Insurance Scheme, right? So what happens is that they were targeting high net worth investors that had the appetite to purchase non-conforming asset classes, right? So we're basically building homes for high net worth investors so they can attract the I'm trying to be very respectful. People who have disabilities, mental and physical disabilities, they need specialized accommodation, right? And a lot of the time, the government subsidizes a lot of these rents. But the key is we were looking for high net worth investors, and we knew from the outset they needed to have over $500,000 in liquid assets that they're ready to invest with. They had an appetite for non-conforming assets, and they're usually between 45 to 65. So how much more clear could we actually get, right? And then because of the message and the offer, we really understood that this particular investor, they were looking for return, they were looking for cash flow, they were looking for yield, and the entire offer was actually around solving that pain point and guaranteeing those yields and those offers. And in the space of 12 months, we generated over 1,000 inquiries for the client. And out of these 1,000, 10% booked an appointment, and they made over $2 million of commission. Not sales, commissions pocketed from the cold outreach that we were able to generate for them. And that's the power of leveraging, of being absolutely laser focused with who you want to do business with, and making sure that your offer is absolutely in alignment with your avatar's pain points.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's really, really important to be like super laser focused on who you want to talk to and who you actually want to attract to your business. But have you ever faced like a situation or had a client that they don't actually have like any clue on who their ideal client avatar is? Like I've experienced these situations where they are like, well, it's everybody, and it's like, no, like, but I sell clothes like for kids and for moms and for grandmas and for men, and then it's like, yeah, but still like, or maybe you can have like different ideal client avatars. I don't know, like, how do you approach to these situations?
Certainly. Well, look, we have our Elite Digital Offer Creation Worksheet, which is our framework we use standardized with every single client we work with. And I think the truth is, if your clients or anybody starts doing business, if they actually had a framework they can work with, they will identify it very quickly, right? And I'll go through the 4 key criteria that we go through on our offer creation worksheet that we run through with our clients. Number 1, the first question we always ask is the niche, like when I talk about niche, I'm really drilling into, look, they say it's everyone. Okay, great. If it's everyone, then tell me, maybe are we talking, do you specifically appeal to man or woman? There's usually got to be an imbalance there. Who are you truly? After that, then what are we talking in terms of education? Oh, it can't be everyone. Is it going to be a PhD level? Are we talking about university graduate? Are we talking about a high school graduate? If you take them through a very standardized framework, very quickly we will sift out that niche. It's when you're trying to catch someone off guard and there is nothing defined or anything that they can envision, then they will just try to be everything to everyone. The second criteria we go through is then, once you've defined your niche, is what is the desired metric that you actually want to help your avatar achieve? You know, what keeps your clients up at night? What do they want more of in their business, in their personal life, in their spiritual life, in their physical life? You know, what's stopping them from achieving their goals, right? And then the next criteria for us will be like, what is the volume or metric you're looking at? You know, how many do they want? Do they want to lose X amount of kilos? Do they want to make X amount of yield on their return on their investment property? Or do they want, what is aspirational to them? That is a metric, right? And then number 3, what's your time frame? How soon do you guarantee your promise? Is it going to be 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 1 month? And very soon, once you've defined that, your avatar becomes more and more, it starts to emerge. It's not liquid anymore. It becomes a substance. And then the next part we'll go through is then, what do you really guarantee? What do you guarantee that if this avatar comes and does business with you, what is the outcome that they can expect to walk away with? That's the framework that we work through, and it works all the time. Even the person who comes initially and says that they aren't sure, and if they're really resistant, I go with the top 10, you know, as they say, it's your top 10 playlist. Go back and list down for me your top 10 clients, right? Or top 5 if you just started in business. Now, these top 10 clients or top 5 clients, what's the one thing you love about them? And there is generally an underlying theme. And then number 2, what is your average lifetime value, or what is the average order? Then you'll start to see economically what is the average. And like I said, there are so many ways. You've just got to learn to tangibilize the intangible to get your avatar.
Yeah, I love your approach, because I think you mentioned something that a lot of people, when they are building these avatars, they don't take into consideration. Like I feel that when they are building it, they are only thinking about, okay, what am I as a business or as a service or whatever, like providing to them, like who I want to reach, and you are not thinking about them, what you mentioned, like what they want to achieve, what is their goal,
Yes.
considering their side of the story. That could also lead you to a better understanding of your avatar and who you are looking to get to. I think that's really, really important. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question is about where do you like most cold outreach campaigns, when they go wrong, what's the cost of getting these campaigns like failing?
You mean cause or cost?
No, where the most cold outreach campaign go wrong, and
Yeah.
what's the cost of getting it wrong?
Okay, got it.
Sorry.
So I'm just trying to think. There's so many places we can start with where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, 90% of the place where it goes wrong, it's actually your offer. Okay, and let me just redefine this. And I always frame it in that there's never a wrong campaign or a failed campaign, only learnings. And how do you interpret that data, and are you committed to actually refining that campaign, right? And it is 90% of where it goes wrong, and the cost of it is huge, is that offer. And a lot of the times what happens is that the offer, there's two things that can go wrong with your offer. Number one is that the offer is not brave enough. And what happens is that a lot of us, when we go out to make an offer, we're brave, we know we can deliver results, but when we actually have to ink it and we have to serenade it to the world, a certain level of fear creeps in. And so when we work with our clients, our job is not only to obviously create the campaign for them, we're almost like business coaches in a way. We have to push them to their fringes, because a great offer has to be time bound, there's got to be risk reversals, and there's got to be a numerical, tangible outcome that comes with it. And when I say risk reversal, it means like a great risk reversal. Let me just example, I'm working with a really dynamic 21-year-old agency owner that does over $1 million a year. Okay, so he's brave, he's got courage, and he wants to grow. And initially he came back and his offer was quite timid, and we refined it. So his offer ended up being, we will help your business grow up to 30% in revenue within a quarter, or we will work for free until we do. Now that is a brave offer. And I asked him, why was he so bullish on coming up with that number once I asked him to go back and through his top 10 playlist and come back to me with some tangible results. And it was because he said, when I went through the numbers myself, Gia, and I looked at all the results I have been able to bring my clients, I've realized that 30% was well within my achievable benchmark. And that gave him the courage to ink it. And because of that, he's been able to book over 30 qualified sales calls every month. This is the digital agency. Do you know how hard and how competitive it is to get appointments in that space? So that's how a powerful offer can really tilt and change everything. You have another question was like, okay, what else can go wrong? So the offer is 95% of it. And this is probably an answer a lot, hopefully you may not have heard of before, is it actually technically comes back to your tech stack. So what happens is that when you do mass emails, a lot of us like to use platforms like MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, Active Campaign, or Go High Level, which are all great platforms, by the way, but they're actually not designed to be specifically cold outreach, right? And what happens is that when you, a lot of the emails, if you don't have it configured properly, your emails don't get delivered, right? If you're sending out 1,000 emails and let's say 70% of them are being caught up in a spam filter, that means 700 people won't even get to see your message. And it can be the king of all offers of all time. But if 70% of your audience doesn't get to see it, that's probably where it went wrong. It's not because your offer sucked, it's because nobody saw it. So that's another technical element. Whilst I spend 95% of my time with the clients refining their offer, my team on the background spends 90% of their time making sure that none of our emails get caught up in spam filters, that they circumvent it, and they get delivered into our prospects' inbox and not spam.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and that's so true, because yeah, I think, and that's why also like really important to hire an expert to do these kind of campaigns and to develop a project of this nature, because sometimes like yeah, you can like, if you know or have some idea of marketing, you will say like, oh, I can send like all these emails through my MailChimp or through this or that. And suddenly it's like a big failure and you don't know why and you don't understand. And it's just as simple as these platforms are not made for that, for example, or the example of the offer. That's impressive. Like, and a lot of people, I feel that they tend to try to find the why it didn't work out on external things, and they can look back into what they put out. So those are really important points there.
And Eunice, you know, a great offer needs to scare you as well, because if we keep doing the same things every single day as business owners, you will inevitably get the same thing as you got yesterday. And so a great offer, actually, to the truth is, a great offer isn't too far from what you're already doing. It's
Yeah.
just really getting you to assess and go deep and really 100% back yourself, right? And to tangibilize what you're truly promising to the world. And that's why whoever you choose to work with, you've got the moment you're willing to step outside that comfort zone without sounding too cliche, especially with that offer, if you're going to the world, that's where you get more opportunities and more doors opening. And remember, an offer is actually not set in stone. An offer is there to open doors and create a conversation.
Yes.
And it's not a deal, right? But it's getting you a physical, or a virtual conversation that you didn't get to do yesterday, and it sure beats cold calling and door knocking.
Yeah, 100%. You reminded me of another mastermind session we had with a word strategist, and he was telling us that one of the main strategies that they apply into like word thinking, and it's this fact or this idea that people think that whenever they have found like the right formula to execute something, they can just replicate it into the infinity, and they never like pivot depending on the reaction of other people. And that's when they start failing. And how important it is to actually like, okay, yeah, you can develop like these campaigns, but you can't stay there all the time. And once you have launch it, it's not going to work the same all the time. And it's really, really important to have that into consideration, because there are external factors around it that you don't control.
Absolutely. Well, a very big important aspect is we have another client that we're working with at the moment, right? So we initially launched their campaign, and the offer didn't work. And then we went back to the drawing board, and actually we came back with the same offer, but we included the words AI. And that offer completely set on fire because, because it was trending. This is where the pain is, they've realized, right? They were doing the same thing anyway, and they were already subsequently using AI. But when they integrated the concept of AI into their offer, that they were going to use AI to help their clients fulfill their to achieve their goals, it completely transformed the value proposition. Nothing changed on their end, but the perception of what they were offering did. And so you can see words matter.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, that's a really good example. Like how just like literally two letters change the entire game. That's impressive.
Absolutely. We have an AI driven solution for you. Bang. Everybody was curious because this is the topic. This is the biggest pain so many business owners or individuals are facing, versus, oh, we just have a normal solution for you day to day. And so that's why it's really crucial to look at what is happening in the market, get the data, get the feedback, and iterate. No such thing as a failure, only learnings.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, yeah. And another, I think like, uh, but like problem, but this is on the side of the business owner that I feel that they face all the time is objection. Like how do you or I don't know if you have like a go-to technique that you can share with us on how to turn like a prospect's hesitation into a yes. Because yeah, now we're talk about like all these things that probably were failing, but when we are doing things right and we have this client that it's like not 100% sure, how do you turn that into a yes?
Certainly. Well, number one, I really don't like objection handling. Nobody does. Because I actually think objection handling it's already quite negative and you're on the back foot. So during the creation of your offer and when you're developing your avatar and who you're really trying to target, this is where you actually need to do all the hard work. You need to get ugly and you need to get the messy out of the way. And during the offer process and during the conversation, when you are presenting to your prospect and they've shown up to the appointment, call out that objection, because then you're actually doing objection prevention rather than objection handling. You're being proactive instead of reactive. Where we all know that we get very dubious when people claim that they're the best, they're the greatest, all that superlative, right? But if somebody shows up to an appointment and they are very, very, and there's this transparency, there's this abundance about them, they're saying that, look, we can help you, and these are our track record, but we cannot 100% agree, but we will certainly try, and this is our framework on how we will move you through the process, or our goods and our service, and this is our backup system. That's where you don't even need to go into objection handling, because you've already alleviated all of those concerns in the first place. So when they do engage and you've done all of that education in the front end, you've already built up all of that trust, all of that brand equity before they've even, by the time they want to engage with you. And most importantly here, that's why that risk reversal inside your offer is so crucial, right? We will work for free, as an example, until we get you there. Who wouldn't want that? That you're backing yourself 100%. There is no money lost. There is no time lost, right? Or even, for example, we are a digital agency, so we are a pay-per-lead, pay-per-appointment agency. So there is no risk to our clients, because if we don't generate you a lead, we don't get paid. And it helps, it aligns your values with your clients, and you alleviate all of that fear. It's all about settling their fear down, because those days, I really believe, for us as agencies of charging high monthly retainers with no promise of an outcome, those days are over. People want 3 letters, ROI.
Yeah, 100%. And for example, when you are, and especially in this sector, or in this area of the cold outreach, I think what you were saying, like prevention, makes more sense that actually act when you have the problem on
Yes.
top. But part of this is, of course, like, I don't know, putting attention into certain details, or running like these campaigns in a certain way, etc. What is like the secret to writing, for example, cold emails that grab attention of the audience and that actually get responses, especially in like these crowded inboxes that we have right now? Because I understand that we have a journey, but we really need to like get a spot on against our competitors even.
That is true. Every day we are competing for attention inside all of our clients, everyone's inbox, right? We're all clamoring for attention. So the secret to writing a great cold email that grabs attention and gets responses, especially in crowded inboxes, there's actually 2 aspects to this side of the coin. So number 1, you've got the technical, and then the other side, then you've got the creative. So I'll cover the technical first. Obviously you've got the best practices that any marketer that is worth their weight in salt should already know, such as making sure that the subject headlines are short, enigmatic. That's really super crucial. And then making sure, again, as I said, if you're doing cold email outreach, just so you know, we never use those standard platforms to send our clients emails out. Every one of our clients has up to 100 separate email accounts, and we send no more than 25 emails per account per day, because that's how we actually circumvent the spam filters and actually get our clients' emails inside the inboxes. Remember, if 1,000 emails get sent and only 20% get inside an inbox, I've wasted 80%. I want to reverse that. I want 80% in the inbox and then 20% in the spam, right? Or even less. So that's the technical component, and making sure, and just so you know, when we work with our clients, as an example, it takes up to a month for us to launch the campaign, not because we're slow, it's because it takes a month to warm up every single email, and it's onerous and it's physical, but that's the way you got to do the hard work to actually stand out. We can move on to like the creative element. Now, this is where I really love leveraging AI, right? You have to really look video and using AI to create personalized videos on scale. If you're not already doing that, I highly recommend all of your clients look into how to do that, right? Because video it's so powerful, it's so engaging, and it's all about selling energy, right? So therefore, once you get inside your prospect's inbox, remember you have half a second to catch their attention. And imagine if they're opening up their email and inside the email they already have a GIF of my face or your face overlaid on your prospect's website, and you're talking to them about their problem. And sure, and that's the thing, you want it to be so hyper personalized, because people still want that humanity element to it. So there's the two sides. Technically, making sure we get inside the inbox, and then number two, making sure that we stand out. Because a lot of the competitors, they probably won't. They'll probably just write, they'll ChatGPT the script, and then they'll send it and they pray and they hope it's going to get open and someone's going to say yes. But no, you can't. Everything has to be refined. The video, the script, the headlines, making sure we get it through the inbox. It's like Formula One, every person inside that team has a job, and everything in this system is so fine-tuned, within like 0.5%. There is no way you cannot fail. There is no way you will fail.
Yeah, totally. And you were mentioning personalization. How do you balance automation and personalization? Because I mean, I understand, and as you were saying, like how important is, for example, in not using these tools and doing basically a lot of manual work on these if you want to like make sure you're going to get some ROI from your campaigns. But there's people that, I don't know, they want to automate some part of it. How did you get to balance these two aspects of automation and personalization?
Sure. Consider automation the person who does all of the machine heavy lifting. If I said to you, Eunice, you need to send 5,000 emails, okay? I mean, it's onerous. It's really daunting, and that's why many people will never get through to it. And consider automation the ability to send out 5,000 emails en masse, right? And imagine if I said you had to film 5,000 videos. That would be extremely daunting. You will never get around to it. But what if I said we can use AI where we can actually personalize each video to your prospect? That's automation. And then what happens is then you will have, everyone will go through the process. And then at the end, you will get people who respond, those who actually book the appointment. That's personalization. People who are not ready to book the appointments but want more information, then you can personalize, then you can respond. And then you can also see who's been opening, and then you can strategically target these people on a more hyper-personalized level. So it's about marrying both things, using automation to do all the heavy lifting, all of the onerous work, reaching people at scale, because also where a lot of cold email outreach or cold outreach in general fails is we underestimate the volume it takes to be successful. People think I'll send 200 emails, but just so you know, we send on average 7,000 emails per client per month.
Wow. Wow.
That's the volume it takes to be successful. You have to have scale, you have to have volume, and you've got to have consistency. And that is why, again, you hear so many people say, oh, I made 20 cold calls today, it didn't work, and they'll never do it again. Have you maybe do 2,000, then let us know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we need to be realistic about those numbers, because sometimes, as you were saying, we just think like, yeah, 10 calls, 15 calls, that like somebody should like close it. No, like it's a lot of work and a lot of numbers there to actually get one response. So
But let me encourage, hopefully, the viewers of this mastermind tonight is that, you know, if most of you are based in the United States, right, you have two amazing things going for your great country. Number one, you are the beacon of capitalism. And people are very responsive to actually go-getters, especially cold email outreach. I really love working with Americans in that place because it's they don't see it as intrusive. They actually see it as ordinary part of business, and they applaud you for trying. So number one, and number two, you have scale. You have 300 million people. You know, when I work with, let's say, Australian clients, we only have 27 million, you know, so it's a very different game. So when you have scale and you have an appetite and you're encouraging entrepreneurs to go out there and create a better life for themselves, cold outreach is designed for your country.
yes, 100%. Wow. Yes, really, really good to take that into consideration. Like big
Thank
countries.
you.
So yeah. And what metrics do you prioritize when measuring the success of a lead gen campaign, and how do you refine them over time?
Sure. I think when it comes down to the technical aspect of like, you know, the metrics is first and foremost, we always need to be monitoring, you know, the delivery rate. Like what's the delivery of these emails? Because if you have 50% delivery, then we have a very big problem at the front end. Then we need to optimize the system for that. And then the next component would be then we look at the response rates, not just positive response rates, but even negative response rates, because if it just means that people are actually opening it, reading it, and responding to it. So that's the next thing that we look for to make sure that the email health is high. And then the next component is then obviously the appointment booking rate. That's what we really look at, like how many appointments are truly being booked for every 1,000 outreach that we're sending out. And then at each junction, just like baseball, you've got to move the player around these critical bases before you can hit the home run. We don't try to swing for home runs all the time because I think it's unrealistic. We try to get people to the first base, and then we find a way to get to second base, third base, and then the home run. Then you're methodical, you're strategic, and you can fix a system. You can fix one chunk of the system versus trying to fix the whole system at once. That's what we look at. Those are the metrics that we look at every single day.
Perfect. And for example, for these small businesses or business owners that they're just starting out, what would you suggest, like, to be the first step that they can take to start building like this lead generation system according, like taking into consideration all these metrics and their resources and capabilities? What would be your recommendation? I mean, I would say hire you, but I understand that probably when you're just starting, it's
Of course.
not something possible, but yeah.
Look, I'm absolutely cognizant that, you know, anybody who starts their own business, I say good. I hugely applaud that. And when you first start your business, taking care of your dollars and your cents ensures that you survive tomorrow. So yes, it's true. Whilst I would love to work with everybody, it's important that you need to stabilize your internal infrastructure first. But what the advice I have for your clients or small business owners who want to do cold outreach is, look, your two biggest limitations is going to be two things. Number one would be time and resources. Resources in that it could be, you know, labor and usually money, right? In the beginning, capital is very precious. So if you don't have the resources to buy more time or expertise, then the first place to start is you need to work with one channel and perfect it. Don't get shiny object syndrome and start thinking, I'll do a little bit of social media, I'll do a little bit of LinkedIn, I'm going to go to some networking and I'll send some emails when I have time. You've got to, it's like a magnifying glass. You've got to pour all of your energy and your resources into the one channel, okay, maybe two at tops, because then like a magnifying glass, you harness the energy of the sun and you set fire. And then from that fire, it grows and it becomes a bonfire. So you got to go very granular, number one, with your offer. Number two, that avatar. Work. And I think and serve your niche as if your life depended on it. And obviously, but also make sure you need to choose a niche that has a strong total addressable market as well, right? Because otherwise, if it's too tiny, it's too hard to find, then that also becomes really onerous. You want some quick wins as well. So once you've defined your offer, you know who you want to target. You use tools like Apollo, which we love, to locate these opportunities and harvest all of those emails from Apollo, because then you can actually segment the people you're looking for. You can look for job titles, you can look for industries, you can even look for the total, how many people work in their organizations if you're a B2B sector. And then you can then actually outbound your campaign to them. If you don't have the money to buy 100 email accounts, which is quite, look, it does work out to be compounds to be quite expensive over time. Okay, if you don't have 100, start with 10. Because if you can buy 10 email accounts, which is about $3 an account, by the way, per month, and you can send up to 25 emails per account per day. That's 250 cold emails you can send a day, and that's 1,750 cold emails you can send in a week. That's a lot, and you compound that by a month. So I wouldn't say there is no excuses, but there is a lot of really creative ways you can try and do this yourself as well.
Wow.
But start small and be very laser focused. Stay with 1 to 2 channels max and nail it.
Yes, I love this. I love this. Like with any business, you just have to get started, and that's the key. Just start, even if it's small, but just get started.
Absolutely.
So, just before we go into any questions that our members will probably or possibly have, could you give us a last piece of advice to someone who is struggling to get traction with their code Outbound?
Oh, wow. It's a tough question, but I've been there before. As I said to you, number one, there's no such thing as a failed campaign, only learnings. What I'm trying to think here is like an example, a story of a client, right? So we have a client initially where we did do the campaign, and unfortunately it didn't go well in the first month, right? But what happened was that he committed to working with us irrespective for 3 months, which I deeply respect, because a lot of people can think 1 month and they lose enthusiasm, right? And so then what happened was that the first month we treated it as an experiment to figure out what was actually not working. And then from the second month, as I said, then we refined the offer. And also furthermore, we changed the avatar. And that's, if it's not working, it's okay to change your avatar. And it's okay to say, maybe I didn't choose the right market to service. And that's a great thing about cold outreach, and you can do it at scale, is that the cost of getting it wrong is actually relatively small.
Yeah.
And you can actually swap very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because sometimes we just get obsessed, I don't know, it was the message or maybe the channel, and we need to rework on this and that, and you don't consider it other aspects, as maybe your ideal client wasn't the right one. So you have to look into the full thing, right?
I think it's really crucial to not be blinded, to not, I call it blind inspiration or just blind ambition, where you're thinking, yes, it's going to work, yes, it's going to work, and you throw everything at it, but rather being objective and actually stepping back and going, okay, that failed. Oh, no, sorry, that didn't work. So what is it? Was it the offer? Was it the avatar? And it's okay to change it as well at the same time. Another client that we had was that when we launched the campaign, he was a mortgage broker, and for the first 2 weeks nothing happened for his campaign, and then we swapped it into targeting the commercial sector, and then very quickly within the next month, because we realized that it was already so competitive in the mortgages and the residential sector, by going to commercial it was less saturated, and when we pivoted, we were able to he's actually one of our best performing campaigns now. And that was because he didn't give up. But it wasn't, he wasn't blinded and saying, oh, we've got to keep working at it, but rather stepping back and going, okay, what's round 2? What can we do?
Yes, totally. I love that. Great example. Well, yeah, this has been a pleasure.